Hi all, let's get started. So again, welcome to Workshop 173, Youth Involvement in Internet Governance. Hope you're in the same room, the right room, so you'll be able to listen to youth, as well as the policymakers to give their perspective on youth engagement. So let me introduce myself. My name is Bianca Ho, Net Mission Ambassador. I'm also working on this initiative, Docus Foundation, to create a children-friendly internet. So let me give you a brief background of the workshop, and then we can move on to the format, and then move on to the meat of today, which is the discussion. So this is actually a collective youth, a YCIG effort. For those who doesn't know, it's Youth Coalition of Internet Governance. We came up with this workshop idea and then submitted it, and IGF actually accepted it and also put us in the main hall, so pressure on me. But I think this is a great thing to put us in main hall and also get the translators to translate in case there are people with language barriers. So the other thing about this workshop is actually we hosted a workshop 2 years ago, Workshop 119, defining successful factors of different models for youth participation in internet governance. So that year we talked about effectiveness, the format, and how to successfully engage youth in the internet. However, I think it's time to move forward. So we're thinking of, we've already done a lot of capacity building. As you see, there are a lot of youth right here. What we want to see is, right now, we're kind of swimming in a swimming pool. How do we, they're learning to swim in a swimming pool. So how do we bridge that gap to let them swim in the ocean? So I think what we're trying to find out this time is if government can kind of build that path or make a river for them to swim from the swimming pool to the ocean. The format of today's discussion would be the policymakers, namely we have representatives from IGF, ICANN, we also have government representatives to speak about how they engage youth on the internet policy discussion. Secondly, we also have youth who are actually in those programs to comment on how this can be moved forward. Number 3, we'll go into an open discussion, which means mapping the gap, as well as filling in the gap, which I think is very, very crucial for what is happening today at the forum, to find actionable items that policymakers or the youth themselves can engage in to bring this forward, to let them swim in the ocean. So our key question would be how to enable true participation for youth in internet governance policy-making dialogue. Before we start, we have 2 hashtags, which is invented by our lovely youth right here. You're also more than welcome to think of any potential hashtag that would potentially move this dialogue onwards. Number 1 is hashtag next step. So it's spelled as NEXTEP. Another one is hashtag, this is the funny one, mind the gap. So please, if you have tweets, anything, please use this hashtag, mind the gap or next step, to kind of bring it forward and everyone can kind of follow our discussion. Lastly, a short, really important reminder, that is please keep your speeches short and sweet. So we only have 4 minutes for both the policymakers and the youth to speak about their perspective. Then we'll move on to the open discussion. You know, as we all, lack of attention, Twitter's 140 words are actually pretty helpful. So let's get started to have the policy-making bodies to speak about their thoughts on engaging youth on the internet. So may I invite Khan from the Bangladesh government to speak first.
Thank you. My name is Khan from government of Bangladesh. You know, to engage the young people, in our perspective, first we need, access. To access in this field, there needs literacy as well as affordability. I'm not going to this area because this area is we're addressing in a different way. Another area is also connectivity. What we did in our country, first we tried to increase the literacy, so we developed some 4,500 Union Information Center dotted throughout the country. Then it is a private-public partnership sort of things. They are imparting literacy to the local people, young people as well. After that, they need to buy something. It should be affordable so that they can connect with the internet. They need little bit money. So, as well as gadgets. So we train them from this center to become a freelancer sort of thing so that they can earn a little bit. Then in the next stage, first this literacy, second is sort of freelancer-like of things. Then thirdly, we engage them to become, small entrepreneurs so that they can bring other people into this literacy area. They can literate other people. At the same time, they can earn something, the other people can earn something. So now it become almost 500,000 freelancer-like things. Now, I think, individual engaging in social media, sometimes it is very difficult to hard to the government. So we encourage them from our area that you should form small bodies, like a sort of trade bodies, like say freelancers association, say internet association, this sort of thing. So now they form the freelancer sort of association, and they not only engaging in social media, but also they form bodies. So what happens? They can talk to government in a structured way. They can inform us their, worries, their points very easily. So in this, I can mention one example is that 3-4 years back, the bandwidth price was in Bangladeshi taka about 27,000. Now it reduced to become 3,000 because they engaged in these areas. Yes, there are other issues like backhaul price and all these things, but they are negotiating. So my point is that after this literacy or forming, the body formation is, or association formation is very important to dialogue with the government, to let government heard. This is very important. I think in this area, the different countries like us, these developing countries, these bodies can interact with each other and they can learn from each other, like peer learning, and they can interact with their government. Even they advise their government, advocacy could be done to improve in these areas. So main point is association formation and in a negotiating with government in a structured way. Other thing is that to do that, you need a critical mass of people, literate people, computer literate people. So on the part of government, on the part of even NGOs, they can do it. In our country, very strong NGOs are there. We are now motivating or trying to convince our NGOs so that they can take up these things. When the number is increasing, then another issue is arising. Those who are literating themselves, they cannot afford for, say, a laptop or, say, notebook. So we are engaging, asking the NGOs so that they can give some micro loan sort of things. So it is taking momentum. So one side is financial, another side is training, and the third side is formation of a body or association like thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was really good to have a developing country perspective because I believe a lot of us on the table are actually from developed countries. But nonetheless, I think it's important that he pointed out a point that you need a structure to make it happen. So I see a lot of developed countries already have, civil societies that he mentioned as the freelancer community that they're building and gradually gaining that critical mass that government will actually speak to them. Okay, so next we would have Subi from the Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group in IGF. We will listen to how she engages the youth in the IGF.
Yanis, thank you so much for having me on this panel. My name is Subi Chaturvedi. I am from India. I teach at the University of Delhi at a women's college called the Lady Shri Ram College for Women. And I run a foundation called Media for Change, which looks at working and learning from youth and members of the internet governance and the internet community. We look at doing capacity building. We look at how is it that we can bring young people and internet end users on the table. Today I was invited to be on this session in my capacity as a MAG member. The MAG is, and we're at the IGF, and you'll hear a lot of acronyms, and everyone speaks in these acronyms. The MAG is a multi-stakeholder advisory group which advises and sets out the IGF program. And this includes stakeholders from across different communities and groups, which would be private sector, technical community, governments, media, academia, and the idea has always been to make sure that this becomes a forum for discussion, dialogue, debate, and also of listening to each other, of responding to calls for issues which need to be addressed. So we've done a lot of main workshops, we've done a lot of sessions. There are about 300 people here, but let me put on record how delighted and thrilled I am to be speaking on this session, because this is my community. The youth who are the end users need to be present in the room. So what is it that we can do? When I saw this proposal, we were thrilled at the MAG to see how is it that we can get more people to come in and participate. So putting my appreciation on the record for Net Mission ambassadors, who we've just also concluded the Asia Pacific IGF, and a lot of you were here in India. So in terms of what we're doing, I think we're not doing enough to get more people here. It is very important to have youth on the table. We do have conversations when we address issues such as child safety, and it's always about how is it that we can get families and young people involved in keeping them safe. Now, these are people who are online. You're digital natives. You understand the internet much better than a lot of traditional socialization institutions like families, like schools. So we're looking at creating peer-to-peer communities. One of the ways has always been to encourage more workshop proposals from young people, from stakeholders, which will bring in young people, and the MAG looks at it with positive discrimination, because we understand that unless you're speaking on a session or unless on a panel, it's very difficult to get permissions, to get travel, to get funding. So one of the issues has been fellowships. How is it that we can remove that barrier? I'm very happy to announce that ISOC, the Internet Society, has just initiated a new vehicle which will allow small and medium contributions. It's called the IGF Support Association, and one of the key purposes of this initiative is to make sure that we can get funding for the sustainability of the IGF, support the IGF Secretariat, but also to grant fellowships to young people who can then come and participate and be here physically. There is remote participation, but for a lot of us, remote participation is like watching TV. Unless you're in the room, unless you're meeting people from different countries, different cultures, you're listening to their issues. It's not nearly the same thing. So one of them is the physical barrier, and second, more importantly, the IGF is in its 9th year. This is the 9th edition. Next year we move to Brazil for the 10th edition. Why is it that we should come here? Why is it that we should be in this room? When you have topics that make sense for young people, for the youth, like anonymity, questions of freedom of speech and expression, when they say something, are they going to be safe? Will they be protected? How is it that the internet can have more meaning and value for them to engage, collaborate, and build? That is when it begins to make sense. So one of our conscious efforts at the MAG has also been to have themes that make a lot of sense to the wider community, that are more inclusive. So we are looking at connecting continents, and the metaphor that we're using this year is also about building bridges. bridges that connect and bring in all stakeholders together. So my request and a call would be, and I'm just wrapping up, is to make sure that you look at the IGF website. This year we've set out a call for 5 best practice forums, so wherever you are, even when you go back from here, you can contribute to these best practice forums, looking at best practices. What is it that makes sense to you when they're talking about keeping you safe online? And thank you once again for joining us here. It's a great honor. Thank you.
Thank you again, Subi. I think the effort is seen, and we are definitely trying to participate more as youth, but maybe we'll voice out a bit more on the challenges that they face. So I think that could be addressed on the next step. Then we will move on to Nora. So she's the VP of Development and Public Responsibility Programs of ICANN. So that's also another internet policy making body. Maybe while we are working on technical glitches. Okay, it's working now.
Actually, there are not technical problems, but I started talking with her to see if she has any technical problems on her end, but she didn't respond. Her voice is enabled right now, but we are not receiving any audio from her.
Okay, well, let's just, in the meanwhile, let's wait for her response. We'll move to Yulia. She's a member of the European Parliament. She's also in the Young Pirates, so I think she's a very nice gap between the government, the policymakers, as well as the youth representatives.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on this panel. I think it's great that the IGF is reserving such a panel for youth issues in particular, but I would also like to point out that when we look around, youth are on the table at the IGF this time, and I think this is great, but frankly the number of people in powerful positions who are actually willing to listen to our opinions and our concerns about internet governance is still sadly lacking. I would like to encourage all the young people who are already participating in the Internet Governance Forum to really not wait for people in powerful positions and for the governments to include you. Because what does it mean to give power to somebody else? It means that you have to give up some of the power that you have yourself. And usually when there is a group that is underrepresented in politics, for example, because we can't vote up to a certain age, it's that group that is lacking certain rights that has to fight for those rights. And I think one way of doing that is to actively go into fora such as the Internet Governance Forum and to push for youth issues and for more inclusion of youth. But at the same time, we also have to recognize that simply because we are young, that doesn't say much about our actual political opinions. Just because we are young doesn't say that we have this or that position on how the internet should be in the future. So I think if we really want to involve youth in the internet governance process and get our opinions heard, it's not enough to have a youth panel where we are talking about youth issues amongst mostly youth, but rather when I look around, we have somebody who has founded a software company, we have somebody like myself who is an elected representative, we have in the audience young activists who are facing oppression from their own governments, including the host country. We have all kinds of people who have very much to say about the multitude of issues that are being discussed at this forum. And I would like to call to the organizers of the Internet Governance Forum and also to the other workshop organizers to put young people on these policy panels, put young people on the net neutrality panels, on the freedom of expression panels, on the panels on issues of the future of the Internet, because we are the ones who are going to have to deal with the consequences of the decisions that are being made about the Internet right now. And I think it is not enough for us to simply wait and be thankful for the fora that we are being given, but we should actively fight for being heard in more fora and for having an actual influence on the decisions that are being made. Thank you.
I think this is a very well-made point, and I do agree that youth panelists should actually sit in the actual issues, but not only on youth again. Though I think youth is very important, and it is an issue that needs to be raised, so that's why we're here. But next year, really hope we can move forward to issue discussion. So actually, I think Nora is on the line now. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Again, thank you for having me today. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I wanted to share very briefly the experience from my time. One of the challenges we faced was that our IGF consisted of the same people. Never no bit of participation. So I kind of go from confidence with the same people traveling around the world. Our friends at South Asia has come up with a great idea to start a generation project in collaboration with and basically we got that with so much that we incorporated this and we invite youth from agencies 30 to come to ICANN meetings 2 hours a week and shadow and board members and participate with all the ICANN community in order to get very involved. So we found that it's not just a great way to involve youth in the ICANN process, but also to involve local youth. And as you know, ICANN goes to a different continent every time meeting, so this was a great opportunity. Trying from this very, very simple experiment, we saw that not only are we attracting these to this program, but also our own community benefiting from new and fresh perspective on the way we do things. And so we definitely take ICANN to engage more with these age groups. And also we look to our partners like South Asia and others to give us more ideas about how we can integrate young people into that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think Nora shared NextGen ICANN, which is a partnership program that they do with .Asia. And what they do is actually they will have a separate forum for ICANN, for youth to participate in ICANN, and they will also have mentorship programs. So this would be a potential way to engage youth, but we will let the youth to comment on whether they think that is sufficient. So now we would move on to the youth representatives to hear about their thoughts on participating in the IGF. So we'll start with the NetY ambassadors.
Hello everyone, I'm Agnes and I'm one of the NetY ambassadors from Hong Kong. Just now our speakers mentioned some policies that can help to enhance youth involvement in internet governance, which are good. But I think these might not be enough. Because, like, people say that teenagers in Hong Kong know only how to use the internet, but they never concern about internet governance. I have to say this is true, but nothing is 100% guaranteed. So there must be someone who is interested in internet governance like us, but the point is, even the ones who are interested, they don't participate in this. In my opinion, this is mainly because that they feel like their voices are not respected. No one listens to them, as our adults always say things like, teens are not experienced enough. So in this situation, how can internet governance be widely promoted among the youth? And We haven't reached the stage of communicating with the government, and something broad but just touches the surface, like advertising or education, are not enough. Youth involved in internet governance by means of getting deeply into the topic, and a competition is a good way to as a starting point, I think. Like the NetY Ambassador program that I joined, participants are required to write an essay on any internet-related issues, such that they can know more about how's the internet working or what the internet is actually about. And as a competition, teenagers will pay more time and be more interested in such topics than having tutorial sessions or reading leaflets, such that teenagers are engaged more as the competition goes on. And I think this is the first step of the whole thing, to effectively raise teenagers' concern as well as interest in internet governance.
My name is Enoch. I am also a NetY ambassador from Hong Kong. So I think particularly in the case of Hong Kong, the government have actually done something to raise the youth awareness on internet governance. For example, they may have leaflets and there are talks in schools. And non-government organizations also do these lectures to educate school students. But the problem is that it's only for the short run. There's no long-run program that can teach in a large number of youth to raise the awareness. So I think this is a part of the problem.
Thank you so much. So they mainly talked about there's no direct communication to speak with the government, and I think a lack of a long-run type of program to engage youth on internet governance. So we will also move on to Wilson Lam and Vincent Ho. They're youth representatives from Net Mission Ambassador to share their experiences.
Thank you, Bianca. And I'm Vincent from Net Mission Ambassadors. Thank you, Ernest, for bringing some points about some practical solutions to current situations. But here, I would like to address a personal experience, which is my story about how I become so passionate in internet issues and how that can be maybe a way to deal with the challenges that we are facing. Starting from nothing, and then we have done a lot of stuff. We initiate a lot of programs, like we generate LexGen at ICANN, and we try to have a model board meeting, address youth, facilitate them in order to get the discussions well done. And after that, we try to hold IGF to have some like youth discussions on internet governance issue, and we're trying to do a lot of things. And along the way, we do see a lot of people want to cooperate with us, and we do feel that our passion is actually paid off. We have our capacity built, but after that, we're seeing just a problem here is that even with our capacity built, we see that our voice are always not getting really to the level of the policy making. I appreciate the multi-stakeholder approach, which gave us a lot of chance in order to voice out the message we want to deliver as a youth. But then we also want the support from the others. We also want the supports from the others multi-stakeholder groups. Which, if it can really happen, then we think that our voice can really get to the policy making level. And that's the situation of my personal story.
Thank you so much, Vincent. So moving from Asia to Europe, we will have Silke, youth representative from Save the Children Denmark, to speak about her thoughts.
Yes, I am Silke from Denmark, and I think that the youth should be more participating in things like this, IGF. Young kids with different cultures, kids from Africa and more kids from Asia, and kids with different social backgrounds because I think the most of the youth who is here has not experienced so much on the internet, and there's much more people and young people who have experienced some not nice things on the internet, and it would be great to hear their opinion in things like this. And I think that it could be better if you could make some youth panels where the language isn't so hard to understand, because I can't follow up when I am to some panels and they're just talking. So yeah. And why do we need to get listened to? I think that we need to get our opinion out to the world, because we're the next generation. We need to tell you adults what we see on our age, because we know some different things than you do. So yeah.
Thank you. Silke has stressed on the importance of a youth panel to use easier languages. She also have a good point on the fact that youth see internet governance in a different way. That's why we have to be heard. Okay, so next we'll move to Grace and Nina, youth representatives from InSafe Network.
So my name is Nina, and I'm here with Grace as a youth ambassador for InSafe. The IGF provides a really good opportunity for us to really discuss our views with adults and other youths from around the world. But I think that one thing that could be improved is that the IGF is a project, so we can't release an official statement to policymakers. So really getting the IGF to become an organisation, so what's discussed here can actually go forward to the policymakers in order to actually make an impact, because a lot of the points discussed here at the IGF are really, really good and would provide excellent ways to actually make a difference and improve things. And also I think it's about raising awareness to other youths, because we're here and we've got the opportunity to do this, and we're really lucky for that. But I think for other youths, back in our home countries, to be made aware of this, maybe through school, for school to promote this, so that they can actually, watch on the live webcast and actually participate with their ideas, because we bring our ideas and what they've told us, but our view changes throughout the event. So if they're watching, their view might change as well. So everyone can really bring their views and then pass it on to policymakers.
My name is Grace Kelly, and I'm also a youth ambassador with InSafe. And before I was actually asked to attend the IGF with InSafe, I had never heard of it. And I've been working and helping in this area for 3 years now. So I think the reason that there's not more youth kind of interest in it is because they simply don't know this event exists. I've seen a lot of tweets over the last few days asking why aren't there any youth remote participants. And I think that's simply because anyone who wasn't asked to personally come here don't even know that this is going on. I've been on Facebook and Twitter and news sites all week, and I've yet to come across an advertisement or an article about it. So I think that would be a good idea to have more. I know we're always talking about awareness around the internet, but we actually need more awareness around this event, so a wider variety of people, especially young people, know about it. And as well as that, if a wider variety of young people are going to get involved, that might get more teachers, more parents actually interested in becoming involved in creating a better internet and not just waiting for them to be told. Even something like a Twitter wall up instead of the screen up over there might be able to display tweets and opinions from people as they're sitting at home and reading transcripts as they're discussed here. And also it was Nina and I that were discussing like what actually comes out of this forum. And for us as youths, we seem to be handing everything over to our organisers, and that's great, like they're more than capable of bringing it further, but it's almost kind of sad for us because we don't know where any of our ideas or any of the work we've done this week is going, and we can't follow the progress. Like I'm nearly too old to be considered like a youth for my national panel, so I definitely can't come next year. I won't be involved in it in that same way. So I think if there was more of an opportunity for us to release almost an official report or even an official one-page report after every workshop and compile those for the IGF, and that way even again that would work for people who aren't in every workshop, they'll be able to get an idea of them all.
Thank you, Grace and Nina. They talked about great points about having an official statement to put forward on what youth has discussed. The other thing is also awareness, not only among youth, but also among teachers and parents. So that's actually a very good motivator for other people to join, to encourage youth to join the IGF. Okay, so we're moving on to Farzaneh. She's academia and from the Persian Youth IGF.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say, well, Persian Youth IGF was a project that we wanted to start, and it has not taken off yet. So, I just say a couple of things about how, when we say that youth should be listened to, who do you mean, who should listen to youth? Are the decision maker? Who are the decision maker? Do we actually mean that we want the national policy maker that actually have the enforcement power to listen to you and consider your policy suggestions, or do we mean that internationally we need the leaders to listen to us and consider our comments? And from the perspective of youth in the Persian-speaking region, I would say that when a project about youth and involvement in IG wants to start, it is very important to look at what should be actually the structure. Should there be a structure? Should it be dependent on another initiative, or should it be like a standalone initiative? And these are very important because it actually may lead to the failure of the project. The other point that I wanted to make is that when we say involvement in IG, which forum do we mean? Which venues do we mean by youth involvement in IG? Do we mean the internet, like generally the institutions that are in charge of policy making and technical aspects of the internet? And the other point that I wanted to make is that actually remote participation is very important and very effective, sometimes even more effective than physical participation, because sometimes people from some region do not have the, it's not the matter of even finance, it's the matter of some reservation to actually physically participate in some venues. So it is important to bring their views in. And the last point that I wanted to make is that what the platforms that should be used for youth involvement for in IG should be based on the regional needs. And what I see most of the time in a different region is that we use the same platform that we use for the European youth, So yeah, that's actually, so the European or the more developed ones, we use their ideas for our region, which is like a developing. So I don't think that would actually fit. And we need to find the requirement first and the need of the youth and then come up with the platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farzaneh. I think that's a great point that we can bring up in the open discussion. So you mainly covered, well, what is the structure and who do you want to be heard from? And I think those are great things to be covered in the open discussion. So next up we all have Lorena, who's from the German Youth IGF. Sorry.
Hi, thank you very much. I want to say plus one to what Farzaneh said. From the perspective of someone that is doing a very specific national IGF, but I'm also doing a regional IGF. I'm also helping with youth participation. I've been helping with youth participation this year in Eurodic. What I see from those experiences are that culture matters and that you cannot apply the same solution to different contexts or different cultural constraints and situations. So I think that sharing best practices is a good idea, but it also needs to take a look within your own country, within your own expectations towards what you expect about politics in general, about policy in general, about what are your own cultural expectations about the internet, about how participation looks like in your country, independently of anything that has to do with digital matters. Whether you like these sort of constraints or not, that it doesn't mean that you have to stick to them, but you should consider them when you are trying to create an youth IGF. So once you have all these things in mind, it usually works in a much more organic way. What the common denominator of many IGFs is that they are very different. Why? Because they've been growing organically. They are in its own perspective a very own project that you just cannot compare or put on another place. Most people have said many other points that I endorse to, so I will try to keep it short. Perhaps I will add one additional point in terms of capacity building. We've been talking about capacity building in terms of funding. We've been talking about capacity building in terms of content, getting more knowledge about certain issues. And I think that there are two other factors which are important too. And one of those factors was mentioned in the session ago, in the youth session about digital citizenship. It was one of you guys that said, well, we need to understand the language they're talking about. I even think someone said it here. You said this. Yes, that was a very good point. Internet governance, the name itself is very cryptical. We talk about policy issues and we talk about digital issues. They are both codes. So we need to translate the code, not only for the youth, but for everyone. So this is the way we're going to get more participation. And on the last point that I also wanted to say, we need capacity building in terms of helping youth or helping people to be able to articulate themselves, to have rhetorical strategies, to have strategies to how to appear in public, how to talk on a panel, how to do networking and all this stuff. And I think this is also a point that should be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lorena. She shared how one should take their own country's context and constraint and think about internet governance. The other is also two interesting points on capacity building, one on language, making it easier. The other is also formulating a strategy. Okay, finally, we come to our last youth panelist, Denise. She's from Access.
Thank you, Bianca. First of all, I would like to thank all of the organizers of this panel, because it's really nice to have young faces for a change. And I would like to again talk about the importance of awareness when it comes to internet governance issues, because I am here representing Access as a policy fellow, because I'm also a university student studying in the US. But actually this conference takes place in Istanbul, Turkey, where there is around 50 universities in the city, and we also know that Turkey is one of the countries with a really high ratio of young people. I think it's around 17%. So I would have expected to see more young faces here, because it's such an important issue for young people. Internet and the future of internet governance should matter to young people from different backgrounds. When you think about it, if you go to a university, if there's enough awareness that is secured at a university level, internet governance can be made more relevant to a really diverse group of students. For example, it's not just political scientists or computer science students who should be involved and will like to be involved. It's also the artists who can have a say on freedom of expression or copyright issues, or it is also the MBA student who will care about the innovation aspect of internet governance. Or it is also just all of the youth, because this is actually about the future, and because the multi-stakeholder process is actually in place and it is a reality, it is one of the few areas where young people can have a voice. So I definitely think that governments and also civil society at large should work on awareness more and make sure that people are aware of this opportunity that already exists.
Thank you so much, Denise. So I think we're done now with both the government as well as the youth speaking. I think next up it will be the interesting part, which is the open discussion. May I have kind of categorize all the ideas into few parts, and I think we should focus more on two things. So, okay, I'll categorize them into pre-meeting, which includes capacity building. Second would be awareness that Denise just mentioned. And then the second part would be at the conference. So what should the youth do at the conference? And third part would be an outcome. That means, for example, having an official recommendation, getting a slot for youth to speak, or even having a youth panel with easier language. So maybe let's start at the conference, because I think capacity building, it is very important. But again, you know, in the last workshop, we have already kind of covered capacity building, and it is done by a lot of civil societies. Maybe we would really want to understand how youth can equally participate in the panels. Does anyone have any suggestions? A hand in the back. Can anyone give him a mic, please?
Hello. 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 Okay.
Hi.
My name is Sheo. I'm representing. Half of me is youth, and the other half of me is adult. I am attending this event as an ISOC ambassador. I just like to make a few comments, and I think my comment is more of a challenge to both the youth and the adults. I look at the room right now, it looks like it's indeed a youth forum, because you could count the number of adults compared to the normal meetings that we have. I think even though it's a youth forum, those that are supposed to be here should contain a mix of it. That is, we should have as many adults as possible, because that is how youth will feel that they are being listened to. It's not proper to have a youth forum in a gathering like this, and yet it's just going to be youth that will be in here. Youths are trying to recognize or trying to make a point that when the adults leave, when they make the decisions, they are the ones that will be there to pack up the shit. So why not just give them the opportunity to be part of the history right now, instead of actually writing the histories for them? I think it's important that the adults, and especially the mothers, maybe I should talk to the women. Women who are adults, please talk to your colleagues who are male. Let them try to engage the youth. Youth are usually in forums like this, they feel secluded. At times, most of them will want to come to the mic. It may be difficult for them. Please meet them outside. Talk to them one-on-one. That is how we build capacity. It's not going to be automatic, but it is when we engage them, that is where we actually know what they have in mind, and there are lots of ideas that they have. I will also encourage this forum to think of ways by which you can receive comments from youth in a way that they won't feel ashamed, they won't feel secluded, and they will actually feel involved. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That's a really good point on engaging them one-on-one, because yes, I think a lot of them is shy to speak on the table. Does anyone have any comments? Okay, Subi.
Thank you, Yanis. I'll be really brief. My name is Subi Chaturvedi, and just responding to the calls, thank you for having me here. You truly inspired me. As a result of the intervention, I have just written to the MAG and to the organizers of the main sessions to make sure that there is participation on these main panels and not just workshops. I take your point on board. It's a fantastic point that we have to give up space to make space for you, because you have a perspective that is uniquely your own. As far as what is it that we can do to make sure that we're solving these problems, access of availability, and one quick suggestion, some of us actually, main session organizers, went looking for panelists from your community. We would love to have some of you come back next year when we go to Brazil. So if you could give us a resource pool of some of these speakers so that we as the MAG can connect them with workshop and session organizers, that's a great gap that you would fill for us. Thank you.
Well, great. We're seeing a lot of hands. Actually, the resource pool is something that we're working on, and we actually aim to put together a mailing list. So after that, it would be great if you guys can contribute. The lady in the back.
Is it me? Hello. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah, my name is Mary. I'm from Nigeria, and I organize the IGF in Nigeria. And for 2 years, we've been having the youth side of the IGF, because the first one we had, they complained to us that we didn't take them into consideration, they did not participate enough. So what we did is that to give them a whole day is their thing. They tell us what they want to see at the conference, at the IGF forum, Youth IGF. And they came up with a communique. But we also did a hands-on thing for them, allowing them, building capacity with them, asking Google. Google came, build capacity on how to make good use of the internet, social capital, social enterprising, and all that will help the youth grow in the internet. And I work with young people that are younger than the youth we spoke to. And those ones are very shy. And they don't always come out. But when we allow them on their own, we leave them on their own to do their work, they come out with very good work. And it would be nice for each region. I don't know whether IGF is organized in region, but the national IGFs, the regional IGFs should encourage the youth IGF. And then from there, let them select some youth. So I want to see African youths. Apart from him, African youths sit down here with others and exchange ideas and come up with what they want and tell us what we are not doing well, and then they would get them going. But we must get them engaged. So it will not just be that they come, they don't know where to go to, where they will roam. We can just set up things that will get them engaged throughout the period they are here. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that goes back to the resource pool, and correct me if it's wrong. You kind of want the feedback from you to give that, give to the organizers as well. There's also another person in the back and also I just wanted to mention it's kudos to the translators. They actually stayed behind for us. So addressing the language barrier issue, they are supposed to leave right now, but they're staying an extra 10 minutes. So I think language barrier is also something that they're trying to address. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam. My name is Mr. Araste. I speaking in personal capacity. Many good things has been said, but for that we need many, many things to do. We need to have a plan, we need to have organization, we need to have modality, we need to have mechanisms, and so on and so forth. And first of all, we need to have more participation, either physically or remotely, by youth, that we don't see that here. So we have to encourage that as much as possible. The needs of the youth in various parts of the world are different from each other. They need to be adjusted to their local or regional or sub-regional requirements, needs, preparation. You need to have prepared initial material. You have to translate it in their own languages if they could not speak either of these 6 official or whatever language. And so they need a preparation, madam. What we have said is very good and valid, but we have to put into implementation. We have to have the modality, we have to have the mechanism, and so on and so forth. So I hope that they will take it forward to see that what are the ways and means to implement that based on the regional, national, sub-regional requirements, preparations, and above all we need funds. That is something very important by one way or other, and we need to also have the collaboration of all involved regional, sub-regional organization, institution, constituencies, and so on and so forth. I hope that you will put it in the some sort of the arrangement that we should take it forward and we should go ahead. Otherwise, we are talking, yes, we need this, we need that, without implementation plan. That doesn't work, and thank you very much.
Yes, we are actually indeed working on the implementation plan. I think that's why we need this workshop to bring this forward, especially having Europe, Asia, everyone together. I also see, do you want to speak? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Maybe Wilson, and then you, and then you.
Okay, thank you, Bianca. So addressing the gentleman's questions, we need an implementation plan. Actually, we have been doing different sorts of YIGF. We have been listening YIGF projects from around the world, from Europe and also Asia. One of the key things that I want to address here is that every time we do a lot of YIGF in different parts of the world, we see a lot of encouraging results. For example, myself, I was in India, APR IGF this August, that the participants are so motivated and they are so passionate on discussing IG issues, and they are so motivated to bring changes to their local communities, to their cities, to their countries. Through ICT technologies, they are so prepared. The capacity building, it's sort of done or has been achieved a lot. So what we should think about is what's the next step. The things we discuss stay in the conference or stay in our own minds. We are, at least at the most level, we broadcast it onto the internet, but it never makes to the policy level. Policymakers didn't have the chance, or they don't even care to listen to our opinions. So what I would like to propose here is to redefine the youth participation on these kind of IG issues. So what is participation? Are we just there to discuss, or we should be allowed an environment with well support where different informations and we are allowed to decide on what we are going to talk about, how are we going to talk about, and what is important for us, important for the future of internet for the next 40 years, 50 years. So this is what I suggest should be done. That's the implementation plan for the next step, and that's what we take it to the next level.
Thank you, Wilson. I think that's a very valid point. Let me let one of the panelists, John, to speak about your point first, and then I'll move on to you and yourself. Okay. John. There.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm John from Save the Children Denmark and Naxo. I'm also here with the Danish Youth Panel. And I think it's been a fantastic discussion, but I still need to address a dilemma that I've encountered. I've said it before in some of the workshops, but I need to say it again. I think that is that the more that these fantastic young people actually are able to express their rights and tell about that they are children with a voice, and we as adults should listen to them. They are also a huge group of different participants at the IGF who say, well, when you can talk so much and know so much about the UNCRC, then you are not actually real children. It's kind of an attitude that is here. I think that we also, as adult participants, need to look at ourselves and how we look at child participation.
Thank you. That's a valid point on the adult participation, and I think that goes back to what was mentioned earlier on the youth panel. Maybe, yeah, please.
Thank you. Hello to everyone. I'm gonna speak in Spanish. Can I speak Spanish?
I do not know Spanish, but I think the interpreters are still here, so.
Thank you. That's my language.
It's fine, I'm sorry.
Okay. Bueno, buenas tardes para todos. Mi nombre es Charolina Villalta. Vengo de Guatemala, en Centroamérica, del otro lado del mundo. Y me alegro mucho por poder estar reunida el día de hoy con ustedes. Es de verdad satisfactorio poder conocer a jóvenes que están involucrados en todas estas cuestiones acerca de Internet, ver que los jóvenes estamos interesados en construir juntos una mejor red. Lo decía el joven que pasó hace un momento, que es bueno ver a los jóvenes, pero es realmente raro no ver a muchos adultos con nosotros. Yo siempre lo he dicho, si queremos construir algo bueno, necesitamos la fuerza de los jóvenes, pero también necesitamos la experiencia de los adultos. Juntos podemos trabajar y podemos hacer grandes cosas. Ok. La cuestión del Internet, creo que debemos también de tener representación a nivel mundial. Estaba viendo acá en el panel, por ejemplo, no hay representación de América, solamente de Norteamérica, si no estoy mal. Pero no está representada Centroamérica, no está representada Suramérica, no está representado, por ejemplo, algunos otros países que han determinado grandes cosas a nivel mundial. Entonces yo creo que también tenemos que ser incluyentes en ese aspecto para que realmente conozcamos la verdad del Internet desde los otros países. Por ejemplo, quiero ponerles, voy a ser un poquito breve en ponerles un ejemplo que nos está pasando a nosotros en Guatemala. En Guatemala, el día de ayer se lanzó una iniciativa de ley por parte del Congreso para poder tener el control sobre las redes sociales y que los jóvenes no puedan postear nada de forma anónima. Para nosotros los jóvenes, el uso de las redes sociales es fundamental porque es la única manera que tenemos de expresarnos libremente, y el gobierno quiere prohibirnos el hecho de que hablemos del gobierno de ellos. Para nosotros la libertad de expresión muchas veces es nos expresamos, pero con cierto recato, porque no podemos llegar y tocar fibras sensibles del gobierno, porque entonces nos criminalizan como jóvenes, nos ponen el dedo, nos empiezan a seguir, nos bloquean páginas, nos bloquean comentarios. Y si eso está pasando sin una iniciativa de ley, imaginémonos si el gobierno realmente logra una iniciativa de ley donde a los jóvenes nos van a estar persiguiendo por el hecho de querer expresarnos y de expresar nuestro descontento, no solamente con el gobierno, sino con el descontento de todo lo que a los jóvenes no nos gusta y no nos deja salir adelante. Yo creo que como jóvenes tenemos muchas cosas que decir, tenemos muchas cosas que hacer, y el hecho que estemos aquí significa que queremos ser esa generación que va a seguir encargándose de que el internet, que ya es de todos, siga siendo así. Okay, gracias.
Thank you so much, and I think it's great to include a Spanish voice, in fact, making good use of the main hall here with the instant interpreter, so thank you so much. I think I really agree with your point where there should be a forum where youth can exchange as well as all the best practices and what's going on here and there, but I think the other important thing that for this workshop today is actually to come up with measures or things that can structurally include youth in the internet governance. So for example, I think something that Subi mentioned would be having the resource pool where adults can find youth on the panels to speak about their thoughts. They can also give feedback to the organizer. So another thing I call for actually is actually having measures on youth internet governance. What that means is, for example, the number percentage of youth, percentage of participants who come to IGF, for example, under 25, for example, is a percentage, maybe 3% this year. So next year, the IGF secretary should move on to like 5% or even more. So in this way, people can actually track it. But before I move on to this one, maybe Subi wants to.
Yes, that is indeed a measurable goal that we'd like to work towards. One quick announcement, we're initiating a new best practice forum which is looking at removing barriers for participation of the youth in the IGF. You will find the details on the IGF website. It's int.gov.org. Please make sure that you sign up to the list and contribute. We want to listen to you and we want to make sure we move forward with you. So I'm at subichaturvedi@gmail. Feel free to write anytime. We love your participation and welcome it. Thank you, Bianca, for doing such a stellar job with this. Thank you.
Olivia wants to make a point.
Yeah, I'm Olivia and I'm from Denmark. Back to what you said in the start over there about that youth has to take initiatives as well. I totally agree with that, but there's just kind of a problem. I'm really honored to be here, but I wouldn't be here if there wasn't an adult who had asked me to be here. Youth can't just go in here and say, yeah, I want to participate in this, listen to what I'm saying. We have to wait for adults to ask our opinions, which I think is a really, really big problem, because we can't take the initiatives without adults. That's one of the big problems about why youth are on the big internet governance forums.
I think a good point here is actually maybe we should issue a statement for adults to sign and say, yes, I'll listen to youth. I think that's a very easy type of campaign that we can do at IGF, and I think it is heard multiple ways. It's heard on the attitude and other aspects as well. Actually, let me let the gentleman speak. Yes.
I am Mr. Abd Fattah Hassan Yusuf, an international coordinator in SAT in Turkey. I wanted to talk a concept and short concept of what are the effective internet use. I wanted to talk positive and negative effective on the use. Have a negative effect on use, or that its use need be monitored more. The internet has become a major of part of everyday life. For most for most development countries. Specialists today but use some say that internet has negative effects used more than a positive. The question is all of effect more than is a negative. Such like that, a positive way is allows them to say touch with one another is good for socialism. It allows them to stay in touch with their parents much more easily when they are out. I wanted to article giving negative and positive effect to internet. Like that, there's a teenagers use the internet like that, and websites are not good. It's more effective to negative in more time. Too much internet use can damage of the teenager. I wanted to topic.
Yes, I agree with your point on the fact that internet could be harmful, but I think our discussion should again be focused on maybe developing, for countries in the developing youth. Actually, there's a remote participant question. James from Cameron League for Development. What measures have been in place to get the African youth on board the IG? Because you could count the African youth who took part in the African IG. So what particular policies has been put in place in the international level to spur up African youth participation? Is there anyone who would like to? So, Jonathan.
I think to answer his question, as I said, in Nigeria, we have youth IGF. We have started, and we are going to introduce that at the African level. The next African IGF, we want to have a new youth session for the African IGF, and that's what we're doing. But we didn't know about this, and we should have been able to organize to sponsor at least 2 or 3 of the youth to be here. You can say more about it.
Jonathan, then yourself.
No, she has said it very well, but I want to go back to measures of empowering youth participation in internet governance. I know very many young people would like to participate in internet governance and in other issues affecting them, but they cannot do it without support. So I think they should be, we should do a lot to call upon parents, governments, and NGOs to always support these young people, to support the youth. We should show the need to parents, governments, and organizations that there is a need for the youth to participate in issues that affect them. I think that will help a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to raise, sorry, this gentleman first. Either the standing mic or this would work.
Hi, my name is Kabir. I am a legislative assistant with the Member of Parliament in the Government of India, and partly I'm working with the National Indian Registry as a part-time research associate. I have a legitimate concern here which I'd like to bring to everyone's notice is that one, we are running on an assumption that there is youth who understand the internet governance issues who want to participate here. But let me just give you the statistics of India right now, that we have about 117 million smartphone users. About 10% of Indian population is using the internet, but I can say it with confidence that majority of them do not understand the internet governance issues even at the rudimentary stage. I've been fortunate enough to work with organizations such as Software Freedom Law Center, National Internet Exchange of India, and the Government of India that I understand these issues and I can be here. But some initiatives need to be taken that if we have these people who are already internet users and smartphone users, that at rudimentary and base level, even in places such as law schools and engineering colleges, they are at least informed about these internet governance issues and how they what exactly is going around in the internet in these issues, because most of them are either unaware or do not understand, which is the point which she highlighted about. So good efforts have been taken by Ms. Chaturvedi, but I'd say something in India as well as some other countries need to be done so that these people get to understand these issues so that they can move to the next level of being represented at the Internet Governance Forum as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your point. There's a few things I want to address. Well, number one is I think the resource pool can actually, so a lot of the people from so-called developed countries, and I don't think there should be a line to draw between the developed or developing country. I think it's more developed internet governance discussion and developing internet discussion. I think that's a better way to frame it, and I think it would be better for us to put on the resources that we already have on training the children. I think, in fact, that's what NEBISH is trying to do, that we'll put on the training programs that we have always put up, have been conducting for everyone, and then we can, potentially put that in a resource pool and have people from India or Bangladesh to potentially learn about internet governance. And I think the resource pool can sort of act as a bridge and as the gap between people in the developing internet governance discussion and people with a more developed internet discussion, especially on the youth side. The other thing I also want to mention is that I've actually seen remote Twitter, so a remote participant actually put up a Twitter list on a lot of the remote participants, as well as the issues on youth. So I think remote participation could be a starting gateway for developing countries who might not have necessarily as much resources after they build up the capacity building using the resource pool. Then next up, gradually get the awareness among parents, teacher, as well as other people to get them funding you guys to come here to the Internet Governance Discussion Forum. So there are 2 comments right there.
Yeah, I thought that it was very interesting statistics that the majority of young smartphone users don't understand internet governance. The thing is, the majority of policymakers don't understand internet governance either. I have not met a single member of the German parliament while I was here. I've met a couple of people who are in German parties or some people who are internet activists from Germany, but they are always the same people that I have met several times before. And if nobody understands what we are talking about here, maybe it's not a case of that we have to educate everybody. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the people, but there's something wrong with us. And I think, well, maybe to make this a little more clear, I think it's really great that some organizations and some groups are bringing new people to this forum, and I think this is extremely important. But at the same time, for example, I was having a discussion, or rather an argument, with a participant of the IGF yesterday evening who was saying that I wasn't really qualified to comment on internet governance because I was calling the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority IANA instead of IANA. If something like that happens to you, don't take their crap. Seriously, I think if we want to have a broad discussion in which everybody is able to participate, then we really have to take the people who have been at this conference for years out of their comfort zone and also force them to talk in a different manner. So, for example, instead of having panel discussions in every single workshop where people talk in a row, we could also try different formats, like, for example, a fishbowl or a bar camp, where people actually also have to change their own language to a way that everybody who is in the group is participating. Because, yeah, some people here at the IGF are trying to get new people in, but I think at the same time there is a group of people who consider themselves a technological elite and a group of, nerds that don't really want everybody to participate here because they feel quite comfortable staying amongst themselves.
Okay, I think that's a good point. And again, I think I go for a statement for, yes, I want to listen to the youth, so I think that's something that we can collectively do. So we have a lot of people who are trying to speak. I'm going to limit all you to 1 minute because we have 8 minutes left. So first you, and then second over there. And then, this is so difficult. And then the one standing, and then youth in green shirt. And then I'll move on to you guys.
Okay, so thanks. I'll try to be brief. I'm not talking in my voice, my own voice, but since remote participation is not working well, I asked many of the scholars of this year's New Media Summer School, which is the youth section at Eurodic, and they have been posing many questions and many recommendations. So I'm giving them back in the forum right now. The first point that that Klaus, for instance, Klaus Vermitterer wants to make is that in his opinion, internet governance should be a process taking place on the internet to a way larger extent than it currently is. It can be that people have to travel somewhere else, so remote participation is very important, and also the need for a Twitter wall, so that remote participation does not only depend on the WebEx, but also on the social media, which is the place where the youth is communicating mostly and participating remotely mostly. This is one of the points.
1 minute is running up. Can you be brief?
Yes. Another point that is being made is a best practice paper for the next IGF. And the last point that was made is, no, that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then the one sitting in the suit.
Yes, thank you. I'm Pinten Tijer from the NL-IGF, and I think we have one goal here, and that's to get more youngsters to the IGF and let them be heard more next year. And I don't think, like the gentleman said there, that we need more models and papers and measures and more people spending 50 minutes talking and doing their talks. This panel shouldn't be here next year, because if everybody, and I want you to listen carefully, everybody in this room talks to someone at home and tells a good and nice story about the IGF and what can be reached there, and is enthusiastic about it against his brothers or sisters, nephews or nieces, and get someone along to here, we're already with double numbers next year. And if we do this, and we don't take 2 but 3 people with us, we can make the next IGF, the 10th IGF, the youngest IGF in history, and I want to reach that.
Thank you. That's a very good point. And I think another measure that we should take is actually the youngest person in the room. So, and then we know, I know it's 13. 13, Olivia. Okay, so moving on to the one standing.
Yes, thanks. I'm Tel Klerks from Amsterdam, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm here on behalf of myself. And I liked what I think Khabib said, because he warned us basically that not everyone in, for example, his country is aware of the issues that are there in internet governance. But I just wanted to say, like, I'm from the Netherlands, and our internet adoption on youth or on older people is huge. But if I ask my classmates anything about net neutrality, for example, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And actually, one of the things that I think would be a great starting point to get people interested in these topics is to launch more national IGFs. So we got a very active IGF in the Netherlands, the NL IGF, and that was actually the place where I got in touch for the first time with these topics. And I think there's a way lower threshold to go to the NL IGF or your local IGF. And also I met a Dutch politician yesterday at a breakfast in my hotel who was attending the IGF, and next to me was sitting a man from the Amsterdam Internet Exchange. And then when he introduced himself and told he was from the Amsterdam Internet Exchange, the politician said, "Oh, cool, you work at a stock exchange? That's really cool." So that proved that your point was also right, that even the politicians that come to the IGF are apparently not so aware of what's actually going on. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you. It's a very good point as well. So the one in green, and then finally Michael.
Hi, my name is Varun. I'm a student volunteer from India. I just want to take this moment not to talk about the underrepresentation, but to appreciate the youth which is already here. And I just want to give you a very brief story about myself. Not a story, just a comment. I have come here completely on my own. I am self-funded for this because I had the choice, and I'm really lucky. But I want to really talk about how easy it was for me. There's no other platform in the world where I think I could have registered without any with being just a student volunteer over here. And I agree completely, there are issues of awareness and funding which need to be extended, which we are doing, which the organizations are doing. And I know 100 friends who are asking me, where are you? I really wish I could be there. So that's something which is great, and we should take a minute and appreciate that.
Thank you. That's actually very good to hear. Okay, so finally with Michael.
Just some of my comments on youth participation. I think it's good to involve in the multi-stakeholder discussion, but something is not sufficient enough. I saw so many good kids, so many role models on the youth, and not enough bad and ugly. People youth who struggle in using internet and those people. And if we want true youth participation, we need something more than youth politician, and we need some freak, some weirdo, someone who really is in this issue, or perhaps youth participation like us should speak up for them. We know them better than anyone else, and that is necessary to take the youth participation in a higher level. Thank you.
So there are certainly so many points to refer with. I would like to address, for the point of Olivia first, is that even though we with the support from the adults, that's why we're coming to here, but the tribute should be come to ourselves. It is who make an impact. We are not just the end users of internet, but the lead users of internet. That's why, just like any newbies come here with someone's support. We are just a similar case. That's why we should tribute to ourselves. That's the first point. And the second one is that the gentleman from the IGF, I would like to mention that, in fact, it is. I agree that with more of the youth getting to hear, it would matters. But then it is not just the numbers that matters. I want to mention that our capacity is fully built, and I want you guys to understand that. It is not the matter is that the problem is not our voice is not getting to the policy making level. This is the major matters. Instead of getting more people or more like this sort of stuff into IGF. And the third point is that referring to Julia's points, I think. It is, I think if your examples can be brought to other countries, it would be great that, like, if we can localize our knowledge, localize our the things learned in IGF, and make them know that it is not just about the best practice, but also the internet governance practice by the other peoples can also apply it in local country. That would be a great idea, I would like to say. And yeah, and that's the point that I would like to mention. Yeah.
Thank you. So I just want to, I think it's 6 p.m. Unfortunately, the discussion was really great, and I think there's a general consensus towards bringing forward and the next steps. I think as an organizer, I need to put in a lot of effort on bridging the gap on the implementation plan that a lot of you mentioned. So I think number one, I just want to give a brief recap to have the resource pool for developing countries who are developed very successful internet governance model and people who are still developing their internet discussion model to bridge up. So having the resource pool to put on your information, how you train people, the teaching toolkits, that would be really helpful. Number two, the resource pool should also act as a bridge for people to find youth who are interested in particular issues like net neutrality, privacy, to speak on their main panel. And I hope Subi would definitely push for us to be on the main panel or even different workshops. Number three would also cover the feedback to the organizer. So I think this resource pool, which is on the internet, since we are the Internet Discussion Forum, we also potentially hope to have a Twitter blog where we can share all our information. I think this sharing would be helpful to propagate to next year, where we can see more youth to join. As you just mentioned, 100 friends are all lining up to come. The second part of it, other than the resource pool, is actually having more adults to participate in this discussion. I think there are some measures that IGF can potentially take, or any conferences. Look at the percentage of youth participants, look at the youngest person in the room, or even the average age. Those can give us a brief idea on the youth participation on the internet. The other thing is also, maybe next year we should just make a different colored of a ribbon, right? I don't know, maybe a blue ribbon where it could say, ask the adults to put it on themselves and say, yes, I want to listen to youth. So this would be a very clear indicator of people who would want to listen to youth, and I think that would be helpful. And I think number 3, and important of all, we can issue something of an official recommendation that Nina mentioned earlier on what we just discussed, and this can be passed on as a report and also to the policy level. So again, I really want to thank every one of you to come to this workshop. I hope you had a fruitful discussion, and we'll bring this forward next year. And my real hope is actually this would never need to exist again, because by then, because youth has participated so well in the internet that we no longer need a forum to speak about.
Thank you, Bianca, for your excellent moderation, and thank you, everyone.
We should proceed to dinner, I guess.
Chair, can I make an interesting point?
Yes.
Can I? May I? Yeah. Oh, so we were actually having this discussion these few days, talking about youth participation. Suddenly a lightning struck my mind. Why don't we put a youth representative in the MAC?
That's a good, really good idea.
Because they're doing a lot about on the schedule and the content of the IGF, right? We go to a lot of youth workshop these few days, and we saw a lot of excellent coordinators that are empowering us. So I was wondering if youth can be one of the representatives within the MAC. Maybe the contents would be more youth-friendly. And going back to Olivia's point, she said that we are here because the adults told us invite us. So why not we invite more youth as representative of MAC?
I totally agree with that, and I think that's a great point. Before we go on, we will be passing on the mailing list. So please put your Twitter, if you have one, and your email and your name and affiliation, so we can keep track of it and work on the resource pool. So again, thank you, everyone. I hope Subi would take that point to the MAG, and we will see you later. See you next year. She is the official transcript writer. So if you haven't given your name, but you have already spoken, please kindly give her your name.
Your spellings right. Please make sure you meet the lady and give her your name and spell it.
That will be on the official transcript. Thank you.
Bro, open the door. Anons geçeyim mi? Open the fucking door.
Open the door.
Dayanamadım. Başlıyoruz. Bak böyle yaptı bak. Dünkü kadar aç değilim ama.